Alara Thompson had always prided herself on her quiet life. At 67, she lived in a modest two-bedroom apartment in the heart of Willow Creek, a bustling suburb where old charm met modern ambition. Her days were simple: 3 mornings a week at the corner bookstore, arranging shelves and chatting with regulars, afternoons spent tending to her small herb garden on the balcony, evenings with a cup of chamomile tea and a good novel. To the outside world, she was just another widow scraping by on a pension, driving a rusty 12-year-old hatchback and shopping at thrift stores for her sensible clothes. But appearances, as Alara knew all too well, could be deceiving. It had been 2 years since her son, Marcus, introduced her to his fiancée, Sophia. From the start, Alara sensed trouble. Sophia's eyes had scanned the apartment like a real estate agent appraising a fixer-upper. "How quaint," she'd said, her smile tight and insincere, as she eyed the faded floral curtains and the worn leather armchair Alara's late husband, Henry, had loved. Marcus, beaming like a lovesick puppy, hadn't noticed the condescension dripping from her words. Over the months, the subtle digs escalated. "Alara, dear, at your age, maintaining this place must be exhausting," Sophia would say during family dinners, her fork hovering over Alara's homemade lasagna as if it were suspect. "Marcus and I are planning a family soon. We'd need room to grow." Marcus, once Alara's confident and kind boy, now nodded along, his spine seeming to soften in Sophia's presence. Alara bit her tongue, chalking it up to young love's blindness, but the pressures mounted. Sophia brought brochures for senior living communities, glossy pages promising worry-free golden years. "It's for your safety, Alara. What if you slip in that tiny kitchen?" Her concern felt scripted, rehearsed. Marcus echoed her. "Mom, think about it. We could help you downsize." Alara's heart ached, but she held firm. Her apartment wasn't just bricks and mortar, it was a vault of memories. Henry's laughter echoing in the halls, family holidays around the scarred oak table. The wedding day arrived like a storm cloud. The venue was the opulent Crystal Pavilion, a grand hall with chandeliers that sparkled like captured stars. 150 guests milled about in tuxedos and gowns, sipping champagne. Alara arrived in her simple navy dress, her silver hair pinned neatly, feeling out of place amid the extravagance. She had known then that she'd secretly funded much of it, anonymous transfers to ease Marcus's temporary financial woes. The ceremony was flawless. Sophia in ivory silk, Marcus teary-eyed as they exchanged vows. But at the reception, tension crackled. Sophia cornered Alara near the dessert table. "Hand over the keys, Alara. It's time you moved on. This place is too big for one old lady." Her voice was low, venomous. Alara shook her head.
"No, Sophia.
That's my home." The slap echoed like thunder. Alara's pearl earrings flew off, clattering across the marble floor. Her cheeks stung, but the betrayal burned deeper. The room fell silent, forks paused midair. Guests stared, whispering. Marcus stood frozen, avoiding her gaze. "Selfish hag," Sophia hissed. "You don't deserve that space, Marcus, and I need it for our future." Tears blurred Alara's vision as she knelt to retrieve her earrings, hands shaking. No one helped. Some averted eyes, others murmured pityingly. "Poor dear, probably senile," one aunt whispered. Alara stood, dignity fraying, and walked out, the weight of humiliation pressing on her chest. In the parking lot, cool night air hit her like a bomb. She fumbled for her phone in her threadbare purse, a relic from better days, and dialed a number etched in her memory. "Victor? It's Alara. Come to the Crystal Pavilion now. Bring the files. It's time." Victor, her trusted advisor for 15 years, hesitated. "Are you certain? This changes everything." Alara glanced back at the glowing hall, where laughed resumed as if nothing happened. "Absolutely. 20 minutes. As she waited in her car, memories flooded her. Henry hadn't been the accountant everyone thought. He'd built a quiet fortune through savvy tech investments, starting with a garage startup in the 80s. They'd chosen modesty to shield their family from envy and opportunists. Wealth is a tool, not a trophy, Henry used to say. After his death from a sudden heart attack 5 years ago, Alara maintained the facade, working at the bookstore for joy, not necessity. But Marcus's troubles began 3 years ago. Job losses, bad investments, debts piled up. Alara had stepped in secretly, paying his rent arrears, covering credit cards, even subsidizing the wedding. She thought she was helping, now she saw it as enabling. Sophia's arrival accelerated the decline. Alara recalled overhearing her on the phone. His mom's place is prime real estate. Once we convince her to move, it's ours. The manipulations grew. Comments on Alara's outdated wardrobe, her unsafe car, her pointless job. Why work when you could relax? Sophia sneered. A month before the wedding, Sophia ambushed her with her parents. Alara, we're worried about you. Sophia's mother cooed, while her father eyed the apartment like prey. A senior home would suit you. We've crunched the numbers. Selling here could fund it and help the kids. Marcus sat silent, complicit. Alara's own sleuthing revealed the truth. Marcus and Sophia drowned in $150,000 debt, loans for luxury cars, vacations, the wedding. Her apartment was their escape hatch. Worse, Marcus had inquired about guardianship laws for elderly parents with declining faculties. Headlights pierced the darkness. Victor arrived, briefcase in hand. "Let's do this," Alara said, steeling herself. They re-entered the hall. Music halted. Eyes turned. Sophia smirked. "Back for more drama?" Victor cleared his throat. "Ladies and gentlemen, I represent Alara Thompson. Urgent matters require attention." He handed Marcus papers. Cancellation of rent guarantees, suspension of monthly transfers totaling $5,000, withdrawal of wedding funding, $60,000. Gasps rippled. Sophia blanched.
Impossible.
"She's broke." Alara spoke. "For years, I've supported you secretly, thinking it was love. But tonight ends that." The room buzzed. Victor continued. "All future inheritance redirects to elder protection charities." Marcus stammered. "Mom, how? Why?" Sophia wailed, collapsing dramatically. Guests filmed, whispered. The manager approached. Payment issue. Event suspended without settlement. Chaos ensued. Guests fled. Sophia sobbed. Marcus pleaded. Alara left, Victor beside her, feeling a strange liberation. The days following the wedding were a whirlwind of fallout. Alara's phone buzzed incessantly, calls from Marcus, texts from Sophia, even knocks from Sophia's parents demanding reparations. But Alara held firm, her apartment a fortress of solitude. Victor handled the legal barrage. Eviction notices served, debts called in. Marcus and Sophia moved in with her folks, a cramped condo that amplified their misery. Alara's neighbor, Harold, a retired mechanic in his early 70s, became her anchor. He'd witnessed the tense visits, overheard Sophia's snide remarks from his adjacent balcony. That girl's trouble, he'd warned months ago. Now he brought homemade soup and stories of his own estranged kids. "You did right, Alara. Blood ain't always thicker than respect." Lucille, Marcus's cousin and Alara's confidant, arrived unannounced. A 32-year-old nurse with a no-nonsense demeanor, she'd skipped the wedding due to a shift but heard the viral buzz. Videos of the confrontation spread like wildfire. Millions viewed Sophia's slap, Alara's poised revelation. Comments flooded. Queen behavior. Elder abuse exposed. Alara, I had no idea. Lucille hugged her. Marcus changed after meeting her. But this? Unforgivable. Together, they pored over documents Alara had gathered. Emails from Sophia pushing senior homes, bank records of Alara's subsidies, even a private investigator's report on their debts. The report painted a grim picture. Sophia, an aspiring influencer, spent lavishly on clothes and trips, posting filtered glamour while ignoring bills. Marcus, a mid-level marketer earning $50,000, enabled it all, dipping into overdrafts. They'd planned to relocate Alara post-wedding, selling her apartment for quick cash. But the bombshell: Sophia had consulted lawyers on elder incompetency. Sworn affidavits from concerned friends described Alara as forgetful, irrational. Plan B, as Harold overheard post-wedding: if she fights, we declare her crazy. Alara's resolve hardened. With Victor, she countersued for emotional distress and defamation. The foundation of her case: medical records from the slap, a bruised cheek, documented by her doctor, witness statements from sympathetic guests, and financial proofs. Media frenzy ensued. Local news dubbed it the wedding reckoning. Alara declined interviews initially, focusing on healing. She revamped her routine: yoga classes at the community center, where she met fellow seniors sharing abuse stories. One, Miriam, 71, confessed her daughter had borrowed her savings indefinitely. Alara listened, empathized, seeds of activism planting. 3 weeks in, Marcus showed up alone, disheveled. "Mom, please. We're evicted. Sophia's a wreck. Help us." No apology, just please. Alara's heart twisted, but she stood tall. "Help yourselves first. Reflect on why we're here." Sophia escalated. Social media rants portraying Alara as a vindictive crone, ruining their fairy tale. Backlash hit. Netizens defended Alara, boycotting Sophia's fledgling brand. Sponsors dropped her. Her follower count plummeted. Lucille dug deeper, uncovering Sophia's past. A string of short relationships with useful partners, always eyeing assets. "She's a gold digger classic," Lucille said. Harold added surveillance. Sophia had scoped Alara's building with an appraiser pre-wedding. Victor's update: court date set. Alara prepared meticulously, practicing testimony. Flashbacks haunted her. Henry's deathbed words: "Protect our legacy, but don't let it chain you." She'd honored that, but now used it as armor. A turning point: a senior support group invited Alara to speak. Sharing her story, tears flowed, but so did empowerment. "I thought silence was strength. It's not, voices." Post-meeting, offers poured in: book deals, podcasts. Alara pondered, envisioning a platform for others. Marcus's next plea: "Sophia's pregnant. Your grandkid needs stability." The news stung. Alara wavered, but Victor advised caution. "It's leverage." Indeed, texts followed demanding funds for the baby. Alara consulted her new circle. Harold suggested boundaries. Lucille, therapy. She started sessions, unpacking decades of enabling. Henry's fortune hidden to foster independence in Marcus, backfiring into entitlement. 6 months post-wedding, court convened. Alara testified calmly, detailing manipulations. Victor presented evidence: transfers totaling $180,000 over years, conspiracy emails. Sophia broke down, admitting desperation but blaming Alara's secrets. Judge ruled for Alara. $50,000 damages, restraining order. Marcus and Sophia declared bankrupt, assets liquidated. Relief washed over Alara, but sorrow lingered. No reconciliation. Marcus's silence post-verdict spoke volumes. She channeled energy into action. With Victor's help, she founded the Dignity Network, a nonprofit aiding abused elders. Initial funding: $500,000 from her portfolio. Harold joined as volunteer coordinator. Lucille, outreach. The network's first case: a widower conned by his nephew. Success bred more, recovered funds, legal wins. Alara's apartment transformed. One room a home office, walls pinned with thank yous. Her herb garden flourished, symbolizing growth. Yet, nights brought dreams of baby cries, her unborn grandchild. She set up a trust: $100,000 for education, accessible at 18. A year in, Sophia gave birth to little Aiden. Photos leaked online. Alara's heart ached. A card arrived. "Congrats. Hope he brings joy." No response. Alara's book outline grew. Hidden Fortunes, Broken Bonds. It would detail signs of abuse, recovery paths. Friends multiplied. Amelia, a realtor friend, helped appraise properties for victims. Group dinners became ritual. laughter healing wounds. Reflecting on the aftermath, Elara realized pain forged purpose. From humiliation rose resilience. 2 years after the wedding fiasco, Elara's life had bloomed anew. The Dignity Network expanded to 3 branches, helping over 600 seniors. Her book, Shadows of Inheritance, hit shelves, blending memoir with advice. Royalties funneled back, funding workshops on financial literacy for elders. Elara, now 69, radiated vitality. Gone were stress-induced ailments. In came hikes with Harold, who at 72 confessed budding romance. "You're my spark," he said over picnic lunches. Lucille, thriving as director, married a kind doctor. Elara attended, tears of joy flowing. But shadows lingered. Aiden turned 1. Elara sent anonymous gifts via Victor. Marcus's rare updates, via Lucille, painted struggle. Odd jobs, therapy, court-mandated. Sophia's departure 6 months prior, taking Aiden amid accusations of infidelity. Sophia's exit, a messy divorce, custody battles. She resurfaced as a survivor blogger, twisting narratives. Elara ignored it, focusing on impact. A pivotal moment. National TV invite. Real Lives host, Elena Vargas, promised sensitive handling. Elara agreed, prepping with her team. Studio lights glared. Audience hushed. Elara, your stories sparked a movement.
How?
Elara shared, gradual abuse, the slap's catalyst, revelations. I awoke to my worth. Silence empowers abusers. Carlos, Victor's new name and rewrite? Wait, Victor, elaborated legally. Audience applause thundered. Post-show, emails surged, stories mirroring hers. One led to a high-profile case, a celebrity's mother abused similarly. Dignity Network intervened, winning restitution. Personal growth, Elara traveled. First solo trip to coastal retreats, journaling reflections. Henry would be proud, she wrote. Back home, a surprise, Marcus at her door, Aiden in arms.
Mom, I'm sorry.
Tears streamed. Elara froze, then invited them in. Over tea, truths spilled. Therapy uncovered entitlement roots, Sophia's influence. I was weak, lost myself. Aiden toddled, melting Elara's resolve. Forgiveness?
Tentative.
Boundaries set. No money. Therapy together. Respect paramount. Reconciliation began slowly. Park visits, shared meals. Aiden's giggles healed rifts. Sophia contested, but courts favored stability. Elara met her civilly, for Aiden's sake. Network thrived, legislative advocacy, pushing elder protection bills. Elara testified in Congress, voice steady. Harold proposed. Elara accepted, a quiet ceremony planned. Awakening complete. From victim to victor, Elara embodied resilience. 3 years had passed since that unforgettable night at the Grand Sapphire Banquet Hall. Elara Thompson was now 70 years old, but most people who met her guessed she was in her early 60s. Her silver hair was cut in a sharp, modern bob. Her posture was straight. Her eyes were bright and calm. The deep worry lines that used to live between her eyebrows had almost disappeared. She no longer worked at the bookstore. Instead, she spent most of her mornings at the Dignity Haven office, a modest 2-story building she had bought and renovated with part of her redirected inheritance. The sign outside read, Dignity Haven, protecting seniors, restoring respect. Inside, the walls were painted soft sage green. There were comfortable armchairs, shelves full of legal guides, financial planning books, and folders labeled My Rights. In the corner stood a large corkboard covered with thank you cards, photos of smiling older people holding new house keys, court victory letters, and children's drawings that said, Thank you, Grandma Elara. Every week brought new cases. Some were heartbreakingly similar to hers. A 73-year-old man whose daughter and son-in-law convinced him to sign over his house for tax reasons and then sold it behind his back. A 68-year-old widow whose only son kept taking small loans until her entire life savings were gone and then stopped answering her calls. A couple in their late 60s whose grandchildren were being used as emotional weapons. If you don't give us the down payment, you'll never see the kids again. Alara listened to every story without interrupting. She never said, "I told you so." She just nodded and said the same sentence every time. "You're not crazy. You're not selfish. You're not too old. What happened to you is wrong, and we're going to fix it together." Harold, her neighbor-turned-partner, had become the unofficial security and morale officer of Dignity Haven. At 74, he still looked strong. He fixed broken chairs, made coffee, drove scared seniors to court when they were too nervous to go alone, and sometimes, when someone was crying too hard, he quietly handed them a clean handkerchief and said, "Take your time. We've got all day." Lucille had left nursing and become the full-time education director. She created workshops titled, "How to Spot Financial Grooming Before It Starts," "Setting Boundaries Without Guilt," "What to Do When Your Adult Child Treats You Like an ATM." The workshops were always full. Sometimes people came from other cities. Sometimes they brought their adult children, the good ones who wanted to learn how to protect their own parents. Alara had also published her second book, Silent Inheritance: How Families Steal from the People Who Raised Them. This one was not just her story. It was a practical guide, checklists, sample letters to lawyers, phone scripts for difficult conversations, links to elder abuse hotlines, explanations of power of attorney laws, and real, anonymized, case studies from Dignity Haven. The book became required reading in several senior centers and even in some law schools. One afternoon, while Alara was reviewing a new case file, Lucille knocked on the door. "And Alara, someone wants to see you. I think you should take this meeting." Alara looked up. Lucille's face was serious.
Who?
Lucille hesitated. "Marcus. He's downstairs. Alone." Alara felt her stomach tighten, the old reflex. She closed the folder slowly. "Did he say why?" "He said he wants to apologize. Properly. Not on the phone. Not through text. Face to face." Alara stared at the wall for a long minute. Then she nodded once. "Bring him up." Marcus looked different. He had lost weight. His hair was thinner. There were dark circles under his eyes. He wore a plain gray sweater. Nothing designer. Nothing flashy. No wedding ring. He stood awkwardly in the doorway, hands in his pockets, like a teenager who got caught. Mom." Alara didn't stand up immediately. She studied him. "Sit down, Marcus." He obeyed. For almost 2 minutes, neither spoke. Finally, he cleared his throat. "I don't expect you to forgive me today. Or ever. I need to say it out loud. To your face." He took a shaky breath. "I was wrong. Completely wrong. From the very beginning. I let Sophia convince me that you were holding us back. That you were being selfish by not helping more. I believed her when she said you were too old to make good decisions. I believed her when she said we deserved better and that you owed it to us." His voice cracked. "I stood there and watched her slap you. I didn't move. I didn't defend you. I didn't even look at you. I was ashamed even then, but I was too weak to do anything." Tears started falling down his face. He didn't wipe them. "After everything fell apart, I blamed you for a long time. I told myself you ruined my life on purpose. That you were cruel. But the truth is, you were the only person who ever really tried to save me from myself. And I hated you for it because it meant I had to face what a coward I'd become." He looked straight at her. "I lost my job. I lost my marriage. Sophia left when Aiden was 10 months old. She said I was useless without money. She took him and moved to another state with her new boyfriend. I fought for custody, but I didn't have the money for a good lawyer. I see him 4 times a year now. He barely knows me." Alara listened without interrupting. Marcus continued. "I've been in therapy for 2 years. I work at a hardware store now. I live in a studio apartment. I pay my own bills. For the first time in my life. I'm not running from anything." He swallowed hard. "I don't want money. I don't want your apartment. I don't want anything from you. I just want you to know that I finally understand what I did. And if you never want to see me again, I'll respect that. I just needed to say I'm sorry. Not because I want something, but because you deserve to hear it. Silence filled the room. Alara looked at her son, really looked at him for the first time in years. She saw the little boy who used to run to her crying when he fell off his bike. She saw the teenager who hugged her the day he got his first job. And she saw the broken man in front of her now. She spoke quietly. "Thank you for saying it, Marcus. I heard every word."
She paused.
"I'm not ready to pretend nothing happened. I can't erase the pain. I can't forget how humiliated I felt. But I can see that you're trying to become someone different. That matters." She leaned forward slightly. "If you want a relationship with me again, it will be slow. It will have rules. No money. No asking for help with bills.
No excuses.
And complete honesty, even when it's ugly."
Can you live with that?
Marcus nodded quickly. Tears were streaming now.
Yes.
"Yes, Mom. Anything." Alara stood up. She walked around the desk and, for the first time in more than 3 years, she hugged her son. It was not a warm, movie-style embrace. It was careful.
Tentative.
Full of old wounds and new hope. But it was real. Later that evening, Harold found Alara sitting on her balcony, staring at the city lights. "How did it go?" he asked softly. Alara smiled, a small, tired, but genuine smile. "It was painful and necessary." Harold sat beside her. "You're a stronger woman than most, Alara." She shook her head.
No.
"I'm just a woman who finally stopped being afraid of losing people who never really valued me." They sat in comfortable silence for a long time. Then Alara said, "Harold, I want to meet my grandson. When the time is right. Not to buy his love. Just to let him know he has a grandmother who will always tell him the truth." Harold squeezed her hand. "Then that's what we'll do." 5 years after the night that changed everything, Alara Thompson turned 72 in a small backyard celebration at Harold's house. There were no crystal chandeliers.
No 150 guests. No designer gown.
Just 25 people who truly mattered. Lucille and her husband, Harold's grown daughter and her family, several Dignity Haven staff members, a few seniors Alara had helped, and, sitting quietly at the end of the table, Marcus, Aiden, and Aiden's new stepmother, Claire. Aiden was 5 now, a bright, curious boy with Marcus's eyes and Sophia's curls. He didn't fully understand the history yet, but he knew Grandma Alara made the best oatmeal cookies and always had time to read him dinosaur books. Alara had been very careful with the relationship. She never gave Marcus money. She never paid his rent. She never bailed him out. But she did give him time. She gave him boundaries. She gave him honesty. And slowly, very slowly, trust began to grow again. Sophia had moved on with her life. She rarely contacted Aiden, and when she did, it was usually to ask Marcus for something. Marcus had finally learned to say no. Claire, on the other hand, was kind.
Quiet.
Steady. She worked as a librarian. She never asked Alara for anything. She just thanked her every time Aiden came home talking about the new story Grandma told him. The Dignity Haven Foundation had grown beyond anyone's expectations. They now had 7 regional offices across 3 states. They had trained over 1,200 volunteers. They had helped more than 2,800 seniors recover assets, dignity, and safety. Alara had testified before 2 state legislatures and once before a congressional committee on elder financial abuse. Her voice, calm, clear, unshakable, had helped pass 3 new laws. Mandatory financial disclosure when an adult child seeks power of attorney. Criminal penalties for grooming seniors into signing over property. A state-funded emergency legal hotline for seniors facing family pressure. Her 3rd book, After the Storm, Rebuilding Life After Family Betrayal, became a quiet bestseller in the self-help and elder law categories. She no longer did big television interviews. She preferred small podcasts, community talks, and training sessions for social workers and police officers. One morning, while watering plants on her balcony, Alara received a letter. It was handwritten. From Sophia. "Alara, I don't expect you to believe me, and I don't expect forgiveness. I was selfish, cruel,
Desperate.
and I hurt you deeply. I've spent the last few years trying to become someone my son can be proud of. I'm not there yet. But I want you to know that I finally understand what I took from you, not just money, but peace, trust, safety.
I am sorry. Truly.
Sophia. Elara read it twice. She didn't cry. She didn't feel sudden love. But she also didn't feel hatred anymore. She folded the letter and put it in a drawer. She didn't answer it. Some apologies come too late to repair the bridge. But they can still close a chapter. That same evening, Aiden ran into her arms when he arrived. Grandma, I learned to ride a bike without training wheels. Elara laughed, a full, joyful sound she hadn't heard from herself in many years. Then we need to celebrate, she said. Ice cream on the balcony. Right now. Later, when Aiden was asleep on the couch with a dinosaur book open on his chest, Marcus sat beside his mother. Mom, thank you for giving me a second chance. For not giving up on me even when I gave you every reason to. Elara looked at her son. I didn't do it for you, she said softly. I did it for me. Because carrying hate was heavier than carrying pain. Marcus nodded, tears in his eyes again. I love you, Mom. Elara reached out and touched his cheek, the same way she used to when he was small. I love you too, Marcus. Always have. Always will. Outside, the city lights glittered. Inside, the apartment was warm, quiet, peaceful. Elara Thompson, once betrayed, once humiliated, once invisible, had become something far more powerful. She had become herself again. And this time, no one could take that away from her. The end.